Let's check the teams now for today's match. Brian Johnson and Paul Taylor, the full-backs. Gearan, O'Connor, Beattie and Morris, the three-quarters for the Dragons. Hunt, Houghton, Eller and Growth for Parramatta. The halves are Morris and Haddock for St George, and they take on two of the best in the business, Brett Kenny and Peter Sterling. Cole Fraser comes into the St George side, and he locks the scrum with Jarvis, Walsh, Young, Guida and Stone in front of him. Ray Price is back for Parramatta as captain. Sharp, Wynn in the second row, Jerd, Stewart and Mears. Roy Masters coaches the Dragons. John Money's in charge of Parramatta. Kevin Roberts in charge of this Anzac Day match, with Steve Eller kicking off. The Eels running from right to left as we welcome into the telecast viewers through Capital 7 in Canberra and also through Mid-State Television through 6 and 8, Orange and Tamworth. Huge crowd here to see the Dragons and the Eels, with the prop forward Craig Young taking it out to the 32-metre line. Look at this dummy half, the hooker, Chris Guida. There's nothing of him. He's built more like a halfback or a jockey. And that's a towering kick that's gone a mile out on the full. It'll come right back down to the St George 22. Billy Anderson, how do you see it going?
Well, Parramatta have been playing particularly well, and St George will need a vast improvement on their last start against Canberra if they're going to get the money today. But nothing surprises me in rugby league anymore, and St George can win this one, but I favour Parra.
Looking at the results that occurred between these two sides last year, you're quite right, anything can happen. Parramatta gave St George a belting at Belmore in the first round, and then they came here to Kogarah and got a similar belting from the Dragons in the second round. Play is just outside the 22 line, and it's Parramatta attacking with Paul Mears taking play just inside that 22 line. Lower grade results, Saints won thirds and Saints won seconds, both comfortably. Stan the man, Stan Jerd, playing it exactly where Paul Mears played it. A blindside decoy by Taylor. Sterling turning it up the centre to Peter Wynn. His brother Graham, of course, still on the injured list. That's tackle number 5 for Parramatta now. Number
11 for Parramatta, Paul Mears, is going to be one of the key men for the Eels today. He's a young fellow with a chance of making the representative sides. And
oh, my goodness! That was Brett Kenny and Peter Sterling at their best. My goodness, what a try! Shades of France many, many years ago when I think it was Dennis Ward and Shangle Englands, and the French or English referee disallowed the try. He said it was impossible for mankind to do it. Sterling has put it up. Kenny has come across the top like Jezelenko. Watch this. Wow, what a try by the Eels.
Well, Brett Kenny's a master footballer, and there's nothing he can't do. He can tackle, he can run with the ball, and here we see him getting above the pack, Aussie rule style, coming down with the ball for a very, very quick try for the Eels.
Steve Eller taking the attempted conversion, but what a start for the Eels. Eller has kicked the goal. Parramatta leading in the NEC big game by 6 points to 0. Well, as we talk about ban the bomb, I tell you what, when you see a try scored off a bomb like that, it is an absolute treat to watch, isn't it? Here's Eric Gross now.
Ray, just prior to that try being scored, I was talking about Paul Mears, the front rower for Parramatta, and he'll be looking for a big game today, particularly against Craig Young. He'd see himself as a young fellow with a chance of making the representative sides, and a big game today could well see him there.
This man, Stan Jerd, has been showing some good form, tackled down on his own 22 line. Talking of Mears, I'm rather surprised he's playing. There was a very big question mark on him. Sterling's kick in general play is sitting up there nicely for Steve Gearan. Gearan comes back to the halfway, put down by fullback Taylor and hooker Stewart. Steve Morris playing in the 5. My apologies. I think I called him Steve Gearan. Steve's over on the other flank in 2. As it comes from Guida across to Haddock in the 7, and he's away from Taylor and still going, but Ella's pulled him down.
As you called it, Ray, Steve Morris is playing on this wing, but I, for one, hope we don't see too much of him waiting on the flank to get the ball. I think Steve Morris is a brilliant attacking player, and I'd like to see him roving all over the field. He's a match winner for St George, but only if he gets the ball.
Now it's out through Morris. It's been coughed up by the Dragons. Taylor to play it. Chris Walsh was storming through onto that Morris pass. It's with Stewart, now Mayers. Mayers gets rid of Fraser, but he's eventually down under the tackle of Young and Stone, and little Guida was underneath the lot of them. Couldn't have picked three bigger men to finish up underneath, could you? Stewart playing it now. And there's a penalty to Parramatta against Walsh, and back chatting, another 10. Touch judge going on from our side. This would be, I think, the tackle on Paul Mayers that we were talking about, where young Chris Guida finished up underneath the three biggest men on the paddock. And it's with Sterling and gone to Mayers, and Mayers is hitting up out wide. Just wondering whether or not John Mooney has decided that he wants to hit it outside the St George forward line and prong that defence in towards the St George inside backs. Kenny and Sterling again. Kenny kicks ahead. That's going down into the in goal. Rushing back as Perry Haddock. He's left it behind him. No try. My goodness, Haddock had a simple task to clean that up, and he didn't. This was the kick by Sterling.
It looked like it was there for the taking, didn't it?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm not quite sure how close this has been to a try, but there's Haddock trying to clear it up. There's the Parramatta player, and it wasn't for mind force with the downward motion. Well, Sterling's in a lot of pain. He's injured, I think, his left ankle. Sterling has indicated he must leave the field. And this is Peter Sterling coming from the field. Not yet. Jerd, I think, has been told by his captain, Ray Price, to go down and stay down to get Sterling off and to get Idiard on. And Roberts is having a look at Jerd. There goes Sterling from the field. A very, very big blow to the Parramatta chances of a win here today, although 6-0 is a handy start. That's Walsh, tackle on the halfway. Guida taken by Jerd. 2 tackles in a row for Stan. Now Morris and Haddock run around, a chip over the top, and beautifully taken up and cleaned by Neil Hunt. And a penalty has been given to St George. The chip. He's just looking for some interference in the back play. He's talking to Taylor. I think Taylor must have shoulder charged the kicker late. Gearan now. From 8 metres in from touch. It's a beautiful looking kick. And he's got it. Good kick by Gearan. And Parramatta leading by 6 points to 2. You're watching the NEC big game. 6-2 then in favour of Parramatta. Guida loves to run from dummy half by the look of things. To the blind for Young. Inside for Fraser. That's a good tackle on him. Down low by Stan Jerd. Haddock. Morris. Defence up very quickly on the St George 5/8. He was able to get a ball away to Haddock. Haddock to Johnson. Danger for Parramatta. Tackle by Peter Wynn eventually. Haddock again. Infield pass for Stone. And 5 gone for the Dragons. So here comes probably the first test for David Lydiard. There goes the bomb. Off the left boot of Haddock. Lydiard's high with Kenny. They both put it down. And he's going to give a try. He's given the try. I do believe to Cole Fraser. Perry Haddock, incidentally, who put the bomb up, has crashed into the upright. Now, there's the bomb on the NEC replay. A bad case, I'd say, of not calling for it. There's Kenny and Lydiard both battling for it in the air. And then it came on down. And let's see who he gave it to. Mike O'Connor is the man who's been awarded the try. But Kenny and Lydiard, there was no need for them both to be up there. Sharp couldn't take it. And Mike O'Connor just simply puts his hands on it, and that's a try. Right between the uprights. Steve Guerin has these for breakfast. Kicks as simple as this. 12 metres out. And no mistakes from Steve Guerin. So the Dragons have taken the lead. 8 points to 6 in the NEC big game. As professional a unit as Parramatta is, how many times, Bill Anderson, can you recall two players going up for the ball, particularly Sterling and Kenny?
They have done that in the past, Ray, and I can recall you drawing our attention to similar circumstances. I've mentioned before also that any bomb that's put up near the post makes it tremendously difficult for the fullback. He's got to be conscious of the post as well as the players coming through chasing the ball. But that was the one. It looked like Kenny had enough time to get it. It simply required a call to be made by the Parramatta players, and there wasn't one there.
Ball played by Steve Morris. Pat Jarvis, Perry Haddock holds the pass up, but Peter Wynn came across in cover. Long ball out to Michael Beattie. That try for St George, putting them in front. One already gets the impression the red and whites are playing more confidently already, prepared to throw it about and start to do the fancy stuff. Chris Walsh's kick easily fielded by Lydiard. Inside O'Connor, taken by Morris. Neil Hunt. Steve Sharp. Taylor. Mears. Peter Wynn. Eric Growth. Growth flying. This is Kenny. Now it's Growth again. Growth inside the 22. He'll score, Growth. Oh, what a great try by Growth with the assistance of Brett Kenny. Parramatta striking back to lead 10 points to 8. See it again. The NEC replay. Peter Wynn got around and between the St George defence. He sent the world's best winger down the right flank. Kenny called him. Then Growth jinked back and called Kenny. And then this powerful man was away to score.
Once again, we see a try scored on the last tackle with a team electing to run the ball rather than kick it. But the ball goes to this man, Eric Growth. And is there anything he can't do? He scores tries you're not allowed to score. He scores tries that aren't on. Pass the ball inside to Brett Kenny. Wonderful hands by Kenny to turn the ball back inside to Growth. And here we see the strength and agility of the man. He got into stride very quickly, pushed off the cover defence and went across to score a great Parramatta try.
So the kick by Ella is away, no goal. So Parramatta leading by 10 points to 8. Eric Growth in full flight down the right wing. Kenny giving the call on the inside. Then he angled to the outer. Now I wonder what was going through the mind of little Perry Haddock here. Yeah. I can't use the word to describe it best on television.
He's such a wonderfully balanced runner, Eric Growth. If you try to get him low, he's able to lean forward and fend you off. If you try to get him high, he's just too strong and can bump you. I don't think there's an effective way to tackle him.
There's taken to ground by the St George defence. And a penalty to Parramatta. And that's to do with the play the ball. He must have got the St George player for striking prematurely in the play the ball contest. So Steve Ella's going to take a kick at goal. Midway between the 22 and halfway. And about 20 metres in from touch. We're coming away from the ball to the uprights. That's the view line that Steve Ella's got. Parramatta guarding the southern end of this ground, the school end.
Actually, Steve is kicking this ball towards the city end. 10-8 to the Eels at the moment with 2 tries. Ella's kick looks pretty good off the boot. He's got it. Well, the flags have gone up. And 12 points to 8 is the score in favour of Parramatta. Sterling with the blanket around him. I wonder, can we get a report on Peter? Just exactly what it is.
Cork's eye, is it? Thank you. 12-8 then for Parramatta at the moment. Haddock working it. St George winning it. Morris away from Price. That's a good trick. Lydiard made the tackle. Fraser. Young.
He's had a good game today for St George, Craig Young. He's been prepared to hit that line hard and often. He's looked to offload the supports when the occasions have arisen.
Haddock, short ball for Jarvis. 8 metres out from the Parramatta line. Haddock again. Long ball, Morris. Short ball for Chris Walsh. Walsh tackled on 5. Haddock. Long ball out to Young. Shorter one to Beattie. It's gone on to Morris. That's a try. Stevie Morris has scored for St George. Slippery Steve in the corner. Some good passing. There was a long pass from Haddock to Young. Then a very short ball, beautifully delivered by Craig Young, then Michael Beattie, then Steve Morris.
Well, you can pencil down Craig Young as the man to put in your little black book for this try. He threw a beautiful short ball. Beattie found himself in the gap, slipped the ball to Morris. Morris stepped back off the right foot, had 2 players in front of him, but was able to force his way over.
So we've got 12 points all now. As you see it again. Craig Young giving that ball to Michael Beattie beautifully, drawing the defence. And Steve Morris coming back now after scoring the try. A wide-angle kick for Steve Guerin, but I don't think there's too many people here prepared to say that he won't kick it. He gets them too often to be classified as a lucky kicker. To the contrary, he's a beautiful goal kicker, this fellow. Does everything right. He's 2 metres in from touch. 22 out. Coming around, and he's got it from the sideline. Finger in the air, and the Dragons are back in front. 14-12. There mightn't be much breeze about today, but I reckon Steve Guerin knew there was a wind current up there somewhere that was going to help him.
When it started out to the left, I think all the St George supporters on the hill stood up and puffed.
Yeah.
Speared back for the kick to Chris Walsh.
It's a big kick too.
Getting underneath it is Gross, taking it beautifully, but he's getting close to his touchline. Kept his legs tucked up. David Lydiard to Ray Price, the run around back to Lydiard. And Growth is injured. He's holding his left knee, Growth. Getting up very close to the break, about 3 minutes out. Paul Mears. Charged down by St George, taken by Peter Wynn, and a penalty for being offside is the ruling.
Well, there's no doubt the ball did come off a St George player after it was kicked. All I can put into that is the referee must have interpreted he didn't play at the ball. The ball simply came off him and he was no part of it.
Here's Guerin. It's going the other way. Another great kick by Guerin. Great kicking by the former Canterbury player. St George 16, Parramatta 12. Come on, Roy, give us a smile. It's not all that bad. You're 4 in front.
Growth to his feet.
Steve Ella restarts again. Siren sounding. And Guerin will take the tackle. That's the end of the first 40 minutes
It had plenty of excitement, plenty of spectacular stuff, with the Saints leading Parramatta by 16 points to 12.
Start of the second half, and sent downfield by Mike O'Connor, taken by David Lydiard. And Lydiard comes back to the 22. The dummy half is Paul Unane. He's on for Eric Groth. Unane was with Parramatta before going to Penrith. And a roar came from the crowd when the ground announcer made the announcement that Eric Groth would not be back. And I can assure you they were the St George people roaring.
I don't think the St George players would be too disappointed either. He's a tower of a man to try to pull down Eric Groth. Paul Unane's a good footballer, but he's not in the class of Eric.
More importantly, Parramatta have got one hell of a job in front of them. They lost Sterling after 11 minutes. Now they've lost Groth after 40. And St George leading by 4 points. There's the half-time scrums and penalties. 2-1 the ratio of scrum wins for St George. And now they put it down on the first tackle, and Ray Price cleans it up for Parramatta. And he's playing it back to Peter Wynn. Wynn decides to go for a bit of a run of 5 metres. And he's going to play it to Ken Stewart. Taylor, Mayers going up very hard. Plays about 35 metres out from the Parramatta line. Jerd. And he's had the ball taken from him, Jerd. Roberts has ruled play on. And it's out to Haddock. Haddock taken by Taylor. So it's been an unhappy start to the second half for Jerd. The first pass that he was given, he put it on the ground. The second one, he lost it in the tackle. Stone plays it. Coming blindside Haddock to Young, now to Walsh. And around the legs making the tackle was Chris Houghton. Jarvis. 5 tackles now gone for the Dragons. And the penalty to St George. That was a good ruling there by Kevin Roberts. He just let the play go. He was playing the advantage as Steve Sharp appeared to interfere with the man playing the ball. And he just saw what eventuated before blowing the whistle and giving the penalty to St George. 12 metres in from touch. This is nearly the easiest kick he's had, apart from the one from in front. Looks good off the boot. Oh, straight between the uprights. 18 points to 12 in favour of the Dragons. How could you leave him out of a team? Steve Guerin. That man is really kicking with great confidence. Steve Guerin, isn't he, Steve Edge?
Certainly is, Ray. I've been right in line just down the bottom here in the first half, and they haven't looked like missing.
How many balls you're seeing at the moment, Steve? 1 or 2?
Oh, only 1 at the moment.
That's good.
Bill.
Steve, that's why we wanted to get you on. How's it coming along?
Not too bad, thanks. It's I saw the specialist yesterday morning, and he said that I've got a sporting chance of playing at the start of the second round, so we're just hoping, got our fingers crossed.
A St George player is down injured at the moment. It is Chris Walsh. And while we were talking to Steve Edge, Steve Ella received some attention. Up goes Jerd, gets it down to Peter Wynn. Peter Wynn holds back a pass, and he's held by Brian Johnson and Steve Guerin. Playing it back to Paul Mayers. Mayers goes for the blind side, gets a pass away. It's been scooped up by Ray Price, and Price is within 9 metres of the line. Across now for Taylor. Taylor puts the kick in. It came off the leg of a St George player, and he's given 6 more. 6 more tackles ruled as it goes from Taylor to Sharp. And Sharp hit and spin back to Taylor. Taylor taken by Craig Young, and Young took him ball and all, and he had to do that. And he's going to give the penalty. Giving the penalty to Parramatta right in front of the uprights, stealing the ball against Craig Young. I'm wondering whether Craig Young was prepared to give away 2 to possibly save 6. Ella kicks the goal. 18 points to 14 in favour
of St George. You're watching the NEC Big Game.
Walsh has been replaced by a fellow called Fister for St George. Or is it Fafita? Yes, Fafita. Lydiard.
See, that's an example now of the disunity in the Parramatta side. There were no forwards calling the ball. Taylor couldn't get in to take the first pass off the ruck. They've got to get back to their team pattern here and do it quickly.
Price. Taylor. Kenny.
Just 4 points the difference. Kenny's into a gap. Kenny's got 35 metres to go as he passes to Neil Hunt. And Hunt is tackled. 32 out. It's back to Lydiard. Lydiard throws the dummy and crosses the quarter.
And didn't Craig Young do well to get there in cover defence? He came from on this side of the field, Young, to make that tackle when St George were in trouble.
Out to Sharp. Now to Kenny. This is Wynn. Wynn galloping over the 22 line. He's got support. Brett Kenny! Kenny's in! That's his second try, Brett Kenny. Well, Peter Wynn is really having a big game here today, and so is this man, as I'm not quite sure who he acknowledged there. Brett waving to somebody in the crowd. This was the head-on shot of it. This man, Peter Wynn, he's been giving St George one hell of a headache. And standing like a colossus, turning it inside. Kenny was there, screaming for it. And Kenny was able to score behind the uprights. And 18 points all now.
We said it all before, that Parramatta can score a try from anywhere. It goes quickly along the Parramatta line to Peter Wynn. Peter Wynn always tries to beat his man on the outside, never on the inside. Goes around for Feeder here, looks for the inside pass when he's covered by Robert Stone. Gets an inside pass across the face of Paul Mayers. It's picked up by Brett Kenny, and Kenny goes over untouched between the posts.
18 points all. And Brett Kenny scoring his second try of the match. And giving Steve Ella the easiest of conversions to send Parramatta to a 20 points to 18 lead.
And loose hit.
Yeah, it's a bad mistake that for Parramatta. They've given St George the opportunity to come up with a scrum win here and apply a lot of pressure.
St George getting a penalty. That's against the front row of Parramatta for not packing with their backs horizontal to the ground. And the differential. They're working out a move, St George. They're taking a hell of a long time to work it out. Kevin Roberts is saying, come on, get on with it. Stone will probably hit it up himself for one. He does. Now we'll see the move unfold either on this or the next. Craig Young! Albert is over! Craig Young did something similar against Canberra on Saturday. St George are back in front, 22 points to 18. Dummy half getting out from the heavy traffic, and Young, just like a man inspired, hitting that defence line.
Well, Young was always the man who could turn the game for St George. Here a crisscross move was evolving. Young decided he'd take them on his own. The Parramatta defence stood and waited, and Young was strong enough to force his way over.
St George captain Craig Young leading by example. And this will see St George 4 points in front after Steve Guerin does what comes naturally. 5 from 5 for Steve Guerin. He's on a little angle, but compared with some of the kicks that he's got between the sticks today, this is a piece of cake.
None of them are easy.
You keep saying that.
But this is a throw over for Stephen under normal circumstances.
There's his kick. No mistakes. Easy for Steve Guerin. St George back in control at 24 points to 20. Has anybody stopped to think of the high-scoring games between these two clubs? Last year they were both just short of 40 points in the match. This one has already eclipsed the 40 with 18 minutes to go.
That's probably the reason there's 17,250 people here at the match. Steve Morris. Fafita. Almost through. Haddock to Craig Young. Got a pass away. That's Fraser. Nice tackle by Lydia. Morris, quick play the ball. Getting a pass. Oh, and Fraser's knocked on. It hit the referee. He ruled that he didn't inconvenience the either side. And it's play on for Parramatta. Neil Hunt getting between and almost through as players get tired. We're seeing now some gaps appearing more often. Ella.
I think there are a lot of ulcers for the coaches left in this game yet.
You really think so?
I'm positive.
That's if they haven't already got one. It's gone now to Brett Kenny. Kenny got a pass away, and that's Chris Houghton. Beautiful piece of work by Kenny. Stewart.
Oh, it's on wide to the left here for Parramatta if they can move it 2 or 3 quick passes.
Paul Mayers decides to take them on himself.
Still on if they shift the ball left side. That's a very slow play, the ball.
Peter Wynn. Ray Price. Did he pass? Yes, he did. Haddock out from dummy half. Wider. Young. Long ball. Cut-out pass. O'Connor. Getting away from Paul Mayers. Taken on the halfway line. Jarvis. Wider. He's got support. Haddock. Haddock within 15 metres of the line. Tackle number 5. Morris. Morris. Oh, the pass went behind Brian Johnson. And that's the turnover. This St George player has been tackled 1 inch from the line.
There wouldn't be a person in this ground who's not on their feet. There's been some tremendous football in the last few minutes of this match.
Mike O'Connor it was. I couldn't tell who it was, to be honest with you. Mike O'Connor fell just 1 inch from the line. Ray Price pulled down heavily, about 8 metres inside his own 22. Mayers.
Oh, Ray Price is down, clutching his right knee, and that's a knee that he's had problems with in the past, and that on top of the other injuries that Parramatta have suffered in this game could be disaster.
Jerk getting it over to Houghton. Houghton's pass has gone back into the arms of Cole Fraser.
Oh, Brian Johnson was steaming up the left-hand side there, and had Fraser seen him, it would have been a try in the corner.
Haddock to Fraser. Fraser's 11 metres out. Parramatta down by 4 points, and the Dragons are throwing everything at them now. Beattie plays it. Morris to Stone. Back to Haddock. Haddock into a space. Wider. Wider. It's a double movement. It's a double movement by Chrissy Wider.
Well, that's one of the disadvantages of being only 5'4". He was almost at the line there, Guida, reached out but couldn't get there.
Wider was tackled short. The arm carrying the ball had come in contact with the ground, and he improved the position of the ball. So the penalty to Parramatta. It's a case of the walking wounded here at the moment. John Fafita has been taken from the field.
And Nathan Gibbs is on the sideline for Parramatta.
Well, it's an urgent matter for Parramatta. 4 points in arrears as Hunt brings it towards the centre, which gives them the opportunity to work on both sides of the field with whatever play they've decided on. Mayers near the halfway mark on the second. Win. Parramatta with 3 tackles.
wrapping play to the other extremity. And now it's out to Jerd. And Jerd is 8 metres into St George's area. That's the 4th tackle. Taylor, Kenny, that's Nathan Gibbs, infield pass, and dived on by Ella. But the referee's ruling knock-ons against both and a scrum to go down. Players injured out there, Paul Mayers and Robert Stone. There's been a lot of handling errors in this match today. In fact, 16 by Parramatta, 15 by the Saints, but Peter Sterling, a rather forlorn figure there at the moment. But just back on that subject, when a match is played at a furious pace like this, with teams trying to do things and the defence so heavy, you've got to expect a fairly high error count, I would think. Haddock puts it in, and he's won the race for the ball on the open side. So St George steaming towards what looks like a victory. 3 tries and 6 goals to St George, 3 tries and 4 goals to Parramatta. Morris put down by Peter Wynn, who's played very well for the Eels. Stone. The crowd are booing the tackle of Peter Wynn on Robert Stone. That's the reason that the St George crowd were giving the raspberry to the referee. There's a cuffing arm around the chin area of Robert Stone, who has since played the ball and doesn't seem to be suffering any great ill effects. I think Stoney's experienced enough to know that it was time for a little rest for his teammates, with time getting away from the Eels. Now Jarvis has put it out on the full, so it'll be a Parramatta loose head and a Parramatta feed just on St George's side of the halfway. The ball game could well be decided here. It's out to Ella. He kicks into a vacant space. Johnson is going back fast. So is Kenny. Johnson's it's gone over the dead ball line. And it's coming out for a 22 place kick restart for the Dragons. 24-20, the dying seconds. St George all standing flat, and Parramatta doing the unexpected of kicking on the first. But it was time to try anything.
Well, what we can expect from here from St George is 6 runs from dummy half should just about seal the game for them. 6 runs from dummy half with that ball securely locked under the arms.
There's the siren. The Saints have done it again at Jubilee Oval. They did it last year and they've done it again in 1984 with a 24-20 victory over defending champions Parramatta. St George, 24 points. O'Connor, Morris and Young tries. Gearan 6 goals. And for Parramatta, Kenny 2 tries. Growth a try. And Ella 4 goals. These are some of the scenes in the St George dressing room. And there's the St George staff singing the theme song, the beaming smile of Roy Masters. I thought if we waited long enough we'd get a smile. And we'll take this break and be back in just a moment.
More comedy follows.
Row forward and captain, Craig Young. Craig, this is your 2nd award from us. You've got to be happy with your form.
Yeah, I'm very happy, but more happy for the side today. You know, the enthusiasm before the game was great, and we carried it out onto the field, and we done our job out there today.
How do you explain your form today, considering your loss on the weekend to Canberra?
I don't know. It's just different attitude in the dressing room today, and today's result just proves to the blokes in the side that we can do it, but we've got to concentrate each week and every week.
Well, for taking today's award, it's my pleasure to present you with a cheque for $500, courtesy of NEC and Electronic Sales and Rentals.
Thanks very much, Bill.
How important was today's win for St George?
Great, because we go into a 10-day recess now. We get 2 points at the weekend from our